So if you're like me, you like watching Will It Run videos where someone's found some engine that's locked up that probably shouldn't run, goes through all kinds of crazy things to get it running. But what if it's an engine you actually want to save? Is that the right way to do it? No, not at all. If you want that engine to last. So that's what we're going to do in this video here today. Our subject engine is a 327 Chevy. Now you're going to say, Dave, now come on, you can buy a bunch of these things out there. They're pretty cheap on Marketplace. That is true. But what if this engine was currently in your car and it's the correct one? It's the one it was born with. You'll want to save it, not just try to get it running and possibly do damage. Other things, it could be that it's correct or date correct for your car. And you can tell that by looking right in this area at the front pad, and it'll give you a number that's going to give you the date, and it's going to give you a suffix code, which is going to be 3 letters. So it may be correct for your car with the correct transmission. So again, it might be an engine that you want to save. This particular engine I want to save because, well, as you can see by the heads, if you know this symbol, you know these to be double hump heads. These are 462s. This particular engine, based on the suffix code, is a factory 300 horse 327. So I'd like to save this engine. So I'm going to end up showing you some of the things I'm going to do to try and figure out what's wrong with it. And then we're going to see how far we have to tear it down in order to get it right, to get it running.
First thing I wanted to show you, a lot of times what people will do to turn an engine over will be to get on the crank bolt and try to turn from there. But as you can see, this vintage is not drilled and tapped for a bolt on these. So you can't turn it that way. The other way you could do that on a small block Chevy especially would be to get on the flywheel, which I have removed this one here because I had to use it on another project. But I can tell you, when the flywheel is on here, I tried it, this engine is locked up. Some engines you cannot, while it's in the car, access the flywheel. Small block Chevys you can. It's a good design that you can remove an inspection pan and you can get to it. So there's another way you can handle this, and I'm going to show you that.
Pulleys for small block Chevy, there are different ones for different water pumps. So this is a short water pump, so those are the correct pulleys. If you have one that's a long water pump, you'll see a much deeper pulley. So just be aware that not all pulleys are the same with small block Chevy.
Okay, I'm going to use a rather inexpensive puller set. Anyone can afford. I mean, you can get this one from Harbor Freight. I have a better set, but I thought I'd just go ahead and grab this one quick because I want to do this project so that the average individual can do this.
So now that we have the balancer out, this is what I'm going to end up using, is this socket here. You can see how it has this little groove in it. That is so it will fit on the groove on the front of the crankshaft down here. There's a little groove sticking right out, hiding behind that timing tab. We're going to stick that on there, and that's going to allow us to be able to, in theory, move this. But, as I said, this engine is locked up. And it's locked good and solid. So, we want to figure out why that is locked up. Now, one of the things I had done with this engine, I bought it a few years ago, and finally getting around to it. And at the time, it was locked up, and I poured automatic transmission fluid in all the cylinders and left that soak, and it is still rock solid. So if your thoughts are, well, Dave, just put something down in the cylinders, no, already tried it. Not doing the job. I am going to look in those cylinders. I had just gotten an inspection camera, so we're going to take a look at that, but I also wanted to show you, I unbolted one of the valve covers, and you can see it's pretty ugly in here. This engine, I think, has seen a hard life. I think it missed a few oil changes, or it was some pretty low quality oil. In fact, one of the other things I did notice, the oil filter is Kmart brand. Yeah, so nothing but the best for this one. All right, so I think what I'm going to end up doing here next, I'm going to take a look down into each of these cylinders, and I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like. So here's the tool that I wound up getting. Bought this off of Amazon. This was not something that was given to me by a manufacturer. Did see another YouTuber who used this, and it looked like it was a pretty decent tool to me. It does have, as you can see, an articulating head on it. So that's going to allow us to look up at these valves. Let's run this thing down in here and see what we can find. Well, looks like we're on top dead center right now. Let's move the camera up. And that valve looks pretty nasty. Can't see the top of the cylinder well. Why don't we get into number 3? All right. Well, the sidewall doesn't look too bad. Let's take a look at if we can. Let's try to get up and look at these valves. I think I'm going to have to come in a little bit and then turn it back. We are like really zoomed in here. Actually, that valve looks pretty good. I'm going to play back for you what I found in the worst cylinder, which was cylinder number 2. You can see some of the transmission fluid in there, but I don't know what all that debris is. There's quite a bit of rust in here. And also up at the top lip, underside of these valves. So I think I'm going to be pulling the heads off. I suspect this is the one that's probably holding this up. Of course, it could be some stuck valves as well. Also took a look down inside the lifter valley. And it's pretty sludgy down in here. This engine's had a rough life. But we're going to see if we can save this and get it running. So after everything that I've seen, I believe what I'm going to end up doing, taking off the top end, you get the water pump probably out of the way, the intake, valve covers, all the rockers, pull out the push rods, probably lift the heads.
Let's get this intake off out of the way. It looks like the distributor hold down is already gone. So let's see if this distributor is loose enough to come on out. Okay, that's a good sign. Now you can see how nasty that thing is. Let's see if it turns. Boy, it turns, but man, that is tight. A little bit of movement. It's tight because it's had a hard life, no doubt about it. All right, we're gonna sit that out of the way so I can step on it there. Let's get that wire out of the way. I don't think this is going to cause us any problems being there. All right, let's get this unbolted. So I got all the intake bolts done. This one here, as you can see, is trapped by that, but I have it unthreaded from the head. Let's get the valve covers out of the way here. And I do want to save these valve covers. They're actually they're rusty, but they're not dented up. So these are definitely usable, and they are correct for 67. It's the way the 327s were. Earlier 327s were a different valve cover. They were smooth. They didn't say they didn't have the script of Chevrolet on it. They actually had a flat pad in the center, and that's where there was a sticker that said 327. We never did have this valve cover off, so we use a body hammer. There we go. Oh my God, look how nasty that thing is. Wow. This poor thing. This thing was abused. Yeah, that's pretty loose. Probably ought to go around and tap them and see how these valves are. I can do that. I'm sure they're pretty stuck too. That one moves. That one's solid. That's solid. That's solid. That one moves. 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 Those move. I'm going to cut a couple of them that are solid. That one's solid. 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 That one moves. Solid. Solid. Definitely solid. Yeah, so a lot of those valves are hung up. Alright, let's see if we can get this intake come off of here. As for jamming into things they shouldn't. What do you want to bet this intake's never been off of this engine? Well, we already saw by the camera it ain't going to be pretty. Oh, man. Oh, my God. It's like tar. Good God, that is disgusting. That is really, really, really abused. Wow. Yeah, water jackets. Ooh, that's like... Ugh. I couldn't describe that. It was just nasty. Get to this bolt that's down in here. Now we should be able to get to it. These are 462, and these are also the same date, L166, same as the intake. So I thought this engine, if it hasn't been apart, or if it has been apart, they kept the pieces. It didn't get a different set of heads or intake or anything on it. So again, you're looking for a date-correct engine. That's the kind of stuff that you're looking at. Well, that took quite a bit of work. That was not without some drama. These head bolts were pretty, some of them were really stuck. This last one right here really fought. All my sockets felt like they wanted to turn on it. I had to keep cleaning around it to get as much on as I could, and I finally wound up using a socket that I didn't have a whole lot of faith in, but it grabbed it pretty good, and slowly by hand I was able to get this out. And it's still really tight. Wow. So what was holding that thing in there? I mean, it's not rusty or anything, but you can see the head, how it chewed it up there, because I can only get on so much of it. Yeah, that one there was pretty rough. Alright, we're ready to try and lift the heads off of here. I still haven't found a good pry bar to use yet. Maybe I should look in my box down here. Here we go. Let's see how bad this looks. Well, we've seen some of it with the camera. Boy, I really hate to stick that in the port. Why don't I stick it in the exhaust crossed over? Yeah. I did indeed get all the bolts. Yes, I did. Across the front. Okay. There we go. Well, that ain't doing anything. Hey, stupid. There's a bolt there you missed. Who seen that? Who seen that before I did? That's why you keep looking and looking and looking. Alright, here we go. Alright. Let's take a look at the underside of his head a while. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be curious. Oh, that's got a lovely smell to it, too. It'd be interesting to see if we can save that those valves. They don't look real good on the surface. Yeah, I don't think these heads have ever been off. This had the metal head gasket on it. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, she's pretty tasty down in there. I want to pull the other head, and then I want to see if this engine will, if we can then turn it over or not. That way it can push all this other crap out of here. That is nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. It's all up around the top, and it's like, it is rust, but it's also like dirt too. Well, that's clean. Wow, that's not a whole lot of ridge on that. You know, if we don't have much damage to these cylinders, we might be able to just go ahead and do a light honing and put it all back together again. That'd be great. That's what I'm really going for. I'll bring you back after I get this other head off, and then we'll see if this thing will turn. This time I got all the bolts out, so here we go. Oh, okay. Again, all the bolts are out. Yep. Okay. Needs a little persuasion here. We'll just go right to the heavy bar. There we go. Off with its head. Alright. Oh, this one much better. Yeah. That looks much better. Definitely this one here, provided there's no cracks, I should be able to refurb. And these cylinders look a lot better. Okay. Let's see if we put our socket on there, if we can make this turn. Okay, here we go. Nope. Let's try going the other way. Nope. Still not going anywhere. We're going to have to clean up these cylinders a little bit. My God, look how bad it is down in here. That is horrible. Horrible. This poor engine has been abused. Neglected and abused. Alright, so the first thing I think I'm going to do is get that cylinder wiped out of there. And then go into these other ones, and we'll start spraying some lube down in there and maybe tap on them a little bit. Yeah, my guess is that the pistons are probably seized up against the walls. But really, these cylinders, I think they might clean up. I mean, the top of this one here is really bad. The top of that piston looks pretty rough too. I like to think that's all carbon, but all right. Well, I'm just going to keep wiping all these out, and we'll get some lube down in there, and we'll start tapping on it a little bit and see what happens. Of course, there's always another possibility, and that could be there's a spun bearing in this too that might be holding things up. So I'm not going to get too violent with this, because again, the idea of this is to save this engine, not just try and get it running. A lot easier to spray in the cylinders when there's no head on it. Like a 2x4. Yeah, that's 2x4 is 3 3/4, so that'll fit into a 4-inch bore without any problem. I don't have my big sledgehammer out here though. I'm just trying to give it some jolts to hopefully break free, and actually I think I feel like moving. Ooh, that one's pretty solid. This one right here seems a bit solid. Alright, let's see what happens here. Okay, let's get on the right end of the engine. Didn't realize I had turned it around. Okay, here we go. No movement that way. No movement at all. Yeah, I got a feeling we're going to be getting this on the engine stand and seeing what we got. We might have to pull the main caps, see if we got a spun bearing. I could have swore when I hit a couple of them, it felt like it moved. Like that felt like it moved. Maybe I got just a couple of them that are stuck and these other ones free. Because this one here, no. Be nice to have someone hammering on that while I'm here, trying to turn on it, or vice versa. I guess I could do that. Using the foot. Yeah, I can't say that it feels like it's moving. Oh, it's moving. It's moving. See that cylinder? Watch this piston right here. So it was our worst one here. That's one that's... I'm not going to take it down too far because I want it... I don't want it to be stuck down at the bottom. There we go. Oh, she's a little tight again. We'll just do the same thing. Put a foot on there. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to clean that cylinder a little bit. That's what's going to keep it from coming up. Yep, she hangs up there. But I'm able to take it down now. Ooh. Getting some more movement here. But she's probably going to hang up here soon. Yep. It doesn't want to go past that spot right there. Alright. I'm going to wipe these cylinders again. But I think I'm going to drop this back down. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get my hone out. I'm going to try and clean that cylinder just a little bit. See what we can do.
So I just ran my hone through that a couple passes. It smoothed things out a little bit. It's still got some roughness in there. But I think I'm going to see if it'll turn a little bit farther. I'm also going to hit it with a little bit of lube too, just to help it out a little bit. It's worse down at the bottom, obviously, because gravity. Let's just make sure these other ones are just a little lubricated too. Let's see if it comes up a little higher now. Look at that. Oh, we're almost up there. And that did have a pretty good lip on it. But that's a heck of an improvement. And that's which one it is. So we only need to get a little bit more out of the top of that. And I think it'll move. Now, my plan is going to be not just to knock that off and get this thing moving. Again, I want to save this engine. So what I'm going to end up doing, it's barely a ridge on there. It's not that bad. I'm actually going to use this old tool. This is a ridge reamer. You set this up, put it down in the cylinder. It's got these little ledges. And then here's the cutter. And what that does is that takes that ridge off. I want to do that even though it's not a lot there, just so when I pull these pistons out, I don't break any of the rings. Because my hopes are I can just clean everything up, do a little quick honing, and put it all back together again. Based on all the crud and sludge in this engine, I suspect the bearings aren't going to be that great. We may end up putting some standard bearings in. So far, looking at the tops of the pistons, I'm not seeing any evidence of any stamping that this has been into and had replacement like, 30 over or anything like that. It looks like they were completely stock, original flat top pistons, so I don't think this engine's ever been in, and there's not that much of a ridge. I expected there was going to be a pretty deep ridge on that. It just had a rough life. Someone ran some really crappy oil and probably didn't change it often. That, unfortunately, is probably going to be pretty bad for those bearings, but we'll find out then. It's the next day, and let's take a realistic approach to what we've got so far with this engine. If you recall, we wound up having to break it free. It wasn't a valve train issue, though we still have to go through those heads. I suspect we probably do have a couple stuck valves there, but what it turned out to be was number 2 cylinder was frozen in the cylinder bore, and with a block of wood I was able to free that up. Now this is where a lot of those will it run videos can get an engine running, and I probably could. I'd still have to go through those heads, but I could probably get this engine running. But the reality is it wouldn't be running very well. Let me give you a closer look at that cylinder that I'm talking about. So here's our cylinder. This is number 2. First off, take a look at the top of that piston. That's pretty rough, though I don't think there's any holes in it, but the cylinder wall itself, I'm going to come down here at an angle so you can really see that pitting right at the top. Talking about this area right in the top right here. It's pretty bad. It's not through, so it's not going to be hitting the water jacket. The reality is this is going to need machine work. Number 4 cylinder at the top also, it's not quite as bad, but it's not good either. The rest of the cylinders in this actually are in really good shape, which is a shame because I think just taking a little bit of the ridge off, quick honing to get some more crosshatch on there would probably bring this engine back to life. But that cylinder wall is not going to be good. So if you're saving this engine, this is the point where you say, okay, I'm going to tear it down, see what else is good or bad, and then send it out to a machinist and have the work done. Hopefully boring it 30, maybe 40 over would probably clean that cylinder up. If you really needed to save the engine, you could actually have that cylinder sleeved as well. So that'd be another way of handling it. But I don't necessarily have to save this engine because I've got a number of 327s around here. So there's some parts in here that I'm probably going to end up salvaging. Hopefully the crank is good. Camshaft, hopefully that is also good. Because again, this was a factory rated 300 horsepower engine. So that's actually not a bad cam in this. I have another engine that's a 327 from about 63, so this cam would actually wake that up a little bit, so there'd be a budget way of handling that since I already own the engine. But what I am going to do for entertainment purposes is I am going to go through the rest of this engine, get rid of the really bad crap that's on the top of this. Going to clean this engine up, get rid of this nasty wasteland on top of this valve train. Pull those lifters, check this cam, and if that's good enough, what we're going to end up doing is probably getting this engine running. Since I know this engine isn't going to be savable just as it is, to just simply get it running and play with it, we're going to go ahead and do it just for entertainment. And it's only going to cost me probably a set of gaskets, I think is all I'm going to end up having to do, and my time. I still have to go through the heads, might do some porting on it, because those heads will be good. I can put them on the other engine that I have as well. But again, I'm going to go ahead, throw a gasket set at this, clean everything up. To help to pay for that, all I ask is, if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. It's free to you. The more subscribers I have, the more likes I get on a video or comments I get on a video helps. I get a couple dollars back from YouTube, and it helps to pay for those kind of things. So if you want to see that type of entertainment, just help me out. Real simple things to do for you. So let's get at it. Just getting ready to put this on the engine stand, and I found this little gem. One of the bell housing bolts has been snapped off previously, and for my engine stand sitting over there, I'm going to need that for that one right there to bolt into this. So now I got another job to do. Gonna have to get that extracted. Well, folks, this engine just keeps getting better. First off, I noticed that half of this oil pan bolt is sheared. I thought I'd get the oil out of this before I start working on that broken bolt. There we go. Just a little bit of water. Still looks like a lot of water to me, not so much in the way of oil. Let's poke in there once. pretty raunchy. That is pretty raunchy. Oh yeah, it feels like a lot of sludge laying on the bottom of that pan. I punched a hole in the bottom of the oil filter to drain it out, and it started out pretty chunky. It's since getting a little bit better, but still ain't pretty. Yeah, I'd say this engine was pretty abused. It is really telling me that it does not want to be revived. Oh yeah, that was a nice chunk. Well, I just pulled the oil filter off. Take a look at this nice chunky mess. I mean, this stuff is blocking it. Ugh. Ugh, that is just nasty. Yeah, I'm sure all the internals in this engine's in great shape. I need to remove that broken bolt at the back of the bell housing area on this engine. And in order for me to do that, I need to weld a washer to it because it's kind of countersunk, and then a nut on top of that. All right, just got him welded on there. Hopefully that's going to be good enough and it's not going to break off. While it's still hot, I'm going to see if I can get that to turn. Okay, let's see if... Yeah, that worked awesome. Okay, temp number 2. Let's see how temp number 2 goes. Is that tearing it? Probably is. Most likely. Well, you get the concept. So, after 4 attempts, as you can see, didn't go so well. I'm on to the next thing. I have drilled, and now I have a tap in there, which, by the way, because I do a lot of auctions, I've been buying a lot of good stuff made in the USA. We'll see how this does. It actually had drill bits in it. I used both of those. Those are nice sharp drill bits, did the job. So let's see if we get any result out of this. Okay, it's starting to catch it. I think I'm going to start heating this up and see if that'll help. And just keep steady pressure on because I don't want to break this. Well, I finally have success. Here you can see the bits of it that came out of there. And you can see how thin it is. Yeah, I had to keep drilling it until I was able to then use the extractor to get bits and pieces of it, along with using a tap. And then I finished it up with a bottom tap, 3/8, and cleaned everything up. So it is all good and ready to go. It was an awful lot of work for a block that is really going to be experimental. I'm probably not going to, if I decide I'm going to keep this block, it's going to have to go to the machine shop and get bored out anyway. This is just really to get it running. All right, so what I want to do is work on all the trash laying in this engine. It's just insane. What I want to do is pull the lifters, and I got my little block here. And more than likely, these lifters are probably going to be slightly mushroomed on the bottom, so they're probably not going to want to come out of there. It's pretty well stuck there. Let's get a hold of that again. Well, that's much more promising. There, it came out of there. All right, let's take a closer look and see how good or bad these are. Yeah, they're hammered pretty good. Yeah, I can feel they're cupped. I don't know if any of this will show. Probably not. It's pitted. Wow. All right, well, which one was that? That is exhaust on cylinder 6. Exhaust. That one goes right there. Okay. I only got 15 more to go. All right, I want to show you guys something here. Watch these 2 lifters. I want you to see how much movement they have. Okay, that one there is lifting. That's it. Let's see about the exhaust. Here it comes. And that's it, right there. What should it look like? Let me show you on the other side. Let's tap that one down. See how much higher that comes up? I'd already pulled these out, so I already know. Let's see if I can get a hold of that one. Take a look at the cup on that thing. Look at how recessed that is. Yeah, I wonder how much worse the cam might be. All right, so there we go. I had some other ones that were cupped. I think it was on number 6. Yeah, that one there is cupped pretty good. Not as bad as cylinder 2. Those were in really rough shape. All the lifters are out, and most of the other ones that I pulled out were all pretty much cupped. I have the engine turned on its side here. Reason being is I just didn't want all the crap that was in here to fall everywhere. So I put it on its side and scraped off what I could. I want to get to the cam. In order on a small block to pull the timing cover, you need to remove the oil pan or at least lift it, because there's a lip in here that fits over the edge of that oil pan. So we're just going to go ahead and pull this oil pan off and see what the bottom end looks like. These originally came with a canister oil filter, and this has got an adapter on it. That's what this piece is right here, so that you can put a spin-on oil filter. Condition of this engine, and just doing a test. I'm getting a couple good parts out of this. I'm hoping I'm getting a good crank. The cam, I'm not so certain about anymore. This I can certainly use. The heads, hopefully, when I go through those will be usable. So I'll get some parts off of this for the cheap amount of money that I paid for this engine. So I pulled all the center bolts. Those are all 7/16. All I have left are the 2 1/2 inch on the ends. Last bolt. Oh, look at that. It's just falling off of here. There we go. Oh my God. Look how nasty that is in there. See, that was from the water that was in here. That's why it's all muddy looking like that. Look at this. Look at that sludge. Look at that nastiness. Good God. Oh, man. Oh, that is nasty. That looks like a leaf, actually. Yeah, so that's some organic matter that's stuck up in there. Pry bar. Get under an edge of it. I'll go ahead and get that pulled off. As I say, this sits on pins. Oh man, look at the inside of that cover. Let's see. Yep, pretty sloppy. It's an original gear because it's got the nylon teeth in it. Okay, there we go. Now I got the fuel pump rod out. Okay, put a flat spot on it. That'll be fine. Sure won't hurt it at all. Apparently we did not want those bolts to come out. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can get our gear to come off of there. Wow. Am I surprised? No, not at all. But got it freed off. Got it off the cam. Again, normally you do not have to do that. Let's get this thing out of here. I was going to say, I didn't push it back in there that hard. Okay. Oh yeah, I can tell this cam is worn. Keep working with it, because apparently everything on this engine wants to fight with me. It's getting better. Okay. one to go. That's the one you want to be careful with. Okay, there's our camshaft. Now, this end, the lifters that came out were pretty good. Well, I mean, they were worn, but they weren't dished like the other ones. The worst ones were on the front, and you can tell that cam looks like it's shot. They are, good God. Look at the intake on this one. There's hardly anything left of it. Yeah, it's factory cam. It doesn't have any stampings on it whatsoever. So far, this engine has not given us a whole awful lot that's usable. So the next thing I wanted to do here before pulling these pistons out is I want to get rid of that ridge. So you can see right there, that little dark line right at the top of the cylinder. Because my rubber band broke, I got to hold on to all of these, including the cutting key. Drop it back down in that one. I'll show you that cylinder we just came out of. You can see how I took that ridge right out of there. Nothing catching now. Well, barely. There's just barely. And that, you know what? I'll live with that because the honing stones will take the rest of that out. But this is just so I don't break any rings pulling these pistons out. So far, the bearings haven't been bad. I mean, I say that. That is, they're not as bad as I thought they would be. Some pitting and everything, but they're really not horrible. Right past where that ridge used to be. This one here is number 4, which also had a bad cylinder. Look how those piston rings are stuck in there. See, now if you did a wheel it run and you just cleaned up that cylinder and got it going, this would never really seal because those rings are literally just stuck in there. You'd have so much blow by. And that's what this whole video is going to be about, is you can do a wheel it run, but is it the right thing to do if you really want that engine to run properly? No, it's not. And what I'm doing, is it right? No, it's not. This is more of an experiment. Just so you can see, this one here is number 2. Now, I did hold this up to light, and there is no areas that are through, and it is pretty thick on this top. So I think we're going to be okay. We can still run this. But you can also see how horrible that looks, too. Those rings are just completely stuck in that groove. Even that edge up here at the top is all chewed up. Yeah, I can tell you this cylinder is going to probably have a lot of blow-by. I'm sure the compression is going to be bad. And it'll be interesting to see when we get it all back together how bad the compression is in that cylinder. On all the rod bearing surfaces, I mean, they're dirty. But there's no scarring or anything. I mean, there's light stuff, but I think all that would polish right out. So far, I think I'm going to end up having a good crankshaft. Okay, I just looked up this part number 4577. And that comes up as a 62 to 67 327 forged crankshaft. It was also saying about parting lines that should be somewhat irregular. And it's a little hard to see, but that edge is a bit irregular. So hopefully I scored pretty well here, being a forged 327 crank. If the main bearing surfaces turned out to be good, this would be a good usable crank for in the future. All the main caps are off. Most part, the journals don't look bad, but as we get back in here, there is some fine scoring. I can just feel it with my fingertip. It's not getting stuck, but I can feel it. It's ribbed. Same here, as well as on the main. And the main's not bad. It feels like it's mostly right near the center. There's a little bit. So we'll try and polish that up a little bit, even though I'm going to reuse the old bearings. I haven't mentioned, this thing's got a really raunchy smell, and I think it was that water that was in here. It smells like a mixture of really nasty oil and rotting leaves. Again, for reference, here's what that cylinder looks like. This is number 2. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the hone and see what kind of result we can get. Okay, I'm just using some old transmission fluid here. This is definitely not the way you rebuild an engine. After a little bit of honing, they don't look too bad, but if you want to get into the really bad ones, number 4 cylinder, and then my worst one, number 2, which actually cleaned up a lot better than I thought it would, but there's still quite some deep pits that are in there. You can see also across the top. Top of this one here isn't bad. On number 4, and the other ones aren't bad. I mean, they got a little bit of skirt scratches in there. You can see the other side. So yeah, they've got a couple little scratches in there, but I did take the glazing off. I'm still going to go over this with a ball hone and get them just a little bit cleaner yet. That's the best I'm going to do for those 2 bad cylinders. It'll be interesting to see when we do compression tests on this, what we get. So before I do the ball honing, I'm going to pull this engine, and it needs some serious cleaning. Well, here's what I'm up to now. Time to do some degreasing on this engine. Now, I didn't pull the cam plugs out just yet. I'll eventually get around to that. I'm going to just at least first try to get rid of the worst of this. So I went down to the dollar store and I bought some of this. This is $1 a gallon. We'll see what it does. It's a lot better than paying $6 a gallon for name brand cleaner. So we're going to see if it'll do anything. So this has been soaking for about 24 hours. Let's see what kind of results we're getting. Well, you can see a clear line of what it's cleaned so far. It would probably do a lot better if it wasn't near freezing out here in my shop. But for the most part, let's see what the lifter valley is looking like. Not quite as clear of a line, but it does look a lot cleaner than it started. Okay, up out of its bath, you can see I couldn't get it all the way down in. You can see that that patch right there that has not yet gotten to soak, but this stuff is doing pretty good. So next thing I'm going to end up doing here is hitting it with the pressure washer. Let's take a look at our now clean engine. You can see that lifter valley looks so much better. And you can also see that stripe right there. That's where when I had it soaking from one end then the opposite end that it didn't reach. So you can see that that dollar store cleaner actually did a lot better than I thought. Now I have a little bit of flash rust down in the lifter bores. I'll clean that up probably with a fine Scotch pad. Head surfaces are going to be clean. I'm going to do that because we're going to need for gaskets. To clean up the cylinders, I'm going to end up using my ball hone. Isn't it gorgeous? Yeah, from a couple feet away, when you really get down into it. Yeah, it still isn't that great. Good chance that 6 of these might be pretty decent. So 6 out of 8, not bad. I'm going to start my reassembly. I still have some other areas I have to clean. I have to clean the 2 pistons that were stuck, which was number 2 and number 4. So got to see if I can free those rings up. All the other ones, the rings roll pretty easily, so I think they should be all right. So I'm going to clean up some more parts and then do a reassembly. I'm not going to show you all that because personally I think it's going to be kind of boring. If you really want to know how to assemble a small block Chevy, there's plenty of videos out there on YouTube that you can watch that will give you every single detail. I'm not going to do that. The purpose of this video is doing will it run. So we're trying to do something a little bit more beyond just getting it running, and it's still going to be trash, guaranteed. But hey, it's for fun, right? This is an experiment. Disclaimer, don't try this at home. Thought I'd show you a little bit of the work that I did with the heads. Did replace those two valves. They were in pretty bad shape. Overall, the head's cleaned up pretty good, and I went ahead and did some mild porting on them, as you can see here. I also lapped in the new and old valves. A few weeks later, I've had these two pistons, number 2 and number 4, soaking in transmission fluid, trying to get these rings freed up. Before that, I tried some penetrating fluid, I've tried heat, and nothing has budged these guys. And after a few weeks in transmission fluid, still the same. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is putting this in a vise and getting a small punch and unfortunately working on those rings. But I do not want to gouge that ring groove. I want my new center rings to actually fit so that they seal in this piston, even though this piston itself is in pretty rough shape. But it's going to do the purposes of what we want. I managed to get all the rings out, and they came out in lots of chunks and pieces. The only ones that came out solid were the lower oil scraper. So what I've done is I've just taken a piece of the broken ring and I've lightly filed the ends so that way I don't have any sharp edges, and I'm using this now to clean the groove. I don't want to do anything that's going to potentially scar or make this even worse, even though getting those rings out of there I probably did a lot of damage as it is. But you know, looking at the top of this piston, really, what kind of compression am I going to get out of this? I mean, all those pock marks, it's a lot of lost compression right there. Starting to fit my piston rings, I have the top ring pushed down. Now, I took it at different places. I did measure it up in this space, and it's way out. It's calling for between 12 thousandths to 20 thousandths, and I'm right around 24 thousandths up here. Now, bringing it down a little farther in the cylinder, I've just got a nice fit here. That is 15 thousandths. So not too bad middle down here, but up at the top, it's pretty wide. You know, we know with all these pits, and as bad as that top of that piston is, the compression is going to be pretty bad in this cylinder. But hopefully better than it would have been if we would have just beat this thing free and fired it up. And that's the whole point of this video. Here you can see I've got 4 pistons in. 2 through 8 are in place. So it actually feels pretty good, surprisingly. But I know that number 2 is going to be pretty bad. Got the other side to do. As you can see, I have all the rings laying in here. What I did is, before I started re-ringing the pistons, is I test fitted every ring for its cylinder. And no surprise, nothing was needing grinding because these cylinders are, of course, standard, you know, worn. But number 6 actually was pretty tight on the minimum ring gap. So surprisingly, that cylinder might actually be pretty darn good. That'll probably be the best one out of the whole group. Moves free. But boy, I tell you what, 2 and 4 are still really ugly. But we'll see how well it comes out. It's still going to be total junk. So what do negative temperatures do to degreaser? Yeah, that's frozen. Guess I'm not getting to the oil pan or valve covers anytime soon. One side done. Now I have to confess that the oil I'm putting in here is actually used oil. This came from my Marketplace 350. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check that one out. But that engine has about 30 minutes runtime on it. And though this oil probably looks pretty black, it actually is zinc oil, so it's really dark green. So this oil is actually just fine to put in here for what we're doing. Got the valve train all done. Lash has been set, so that's all good to go. The other thing I did that I didn't put on film was I actually took little pieces of tissue and stuffed in all the spark plug holes and rotated the engine over, and actually had compression on enough of them that it blew the tissue paper out of every one of those. So it kind of surprised me. As you can see, I did some priming on this. I got some nice puddles of oil up in here. Getting good flow. Ignore my gauge, it is broken. Yes, I did that. For some reason when I was pressurizing this, it went crazy. I don't know if there was some blockage or something, but then it finally broke free. I don't know, it could have been the pressure relief valve. Might have been stuck and then popped open, but it released. I have normal oil pressure now, and I didn't blow out the filter, so I know that's not the case. But what I'm going to end up doing, I got all my surfaces nice and clean here. I'm getting ready to put the intake on that came off of this, which was really, really nasty. Made a fair amount of progress here. It actually looks like an engine again. I want to take a minute to show you the balancer that we have for this unit. I have another one here as well. And on the back side, you'll notice that big groove. I'm going to show you on this other one that I have, this other used one. Not as bad, but it also has a groove on it. So there's a remedy to this problem. One, you can buy a new balancer, or you can do this, a sleeve. Now this sleeve goes over top of this, and that gives you a new surface for your oil seal to ride on. This is so you can install it. You're going to put it on there, and then basically tap on that to get it down. So that way we do not have an oil leak on this. Yes, I know my exhaust manifolds are, that one's on the wrong side. I did that because this here, the dump, goes straight down. If I'd used the correct one on this side, it would go literally right towards the starter. And since I'm running this as open manifolds, I don't want to be throwing flames on my good starter. Distributor is in. It's a points distributor, so it's all correct. It's already set on top dead center, so we should be good to go with that. Those points, that distributor came off of my Pontiac Ventura, so that was a working system. I'm not sure where the coil is, but I did have a newer coil in a box, so I put that on. That should be good. Well, we have everything hooked up here. So the next step is put gas in it. Let's just go for broke. Let's just pour some down in there and let's see what happens. Get a hot wire to the coil. There, our coil is active. Get our starter wire. Here we go. Well, it's nice to know we actually got compression, that we actually got the fire. Here we go. Okay, look at that. We blew the seal on the oil filter. Thought I felt like I was getting wet. When I primed this, I had excessive oil pressure, and then something like popped, and I thought I was good. So I had too much pressure going on, which destroyed my oil pressure gauge, and it blew the gasket on this oil filter. And I was looking at it, it might have deformed a little bit of the oil filter as well. I don't think it really shows up here on film. So I removed, this was the conversion. So I went ahead and removed that. I don't really think this is my problem. I think there's a clog in this. I really should have did a better job of cleaning this thing out. I kind of rushed through. But as you can see, I went back to a canister filter on this. We'll see if that'll hold up. I also replaced the gauge with a much larger one. This is the gauge that I was using, and you can see it's pegged. Yeah, she went and looped you around and ain't no good no more. So I think I'm going to hook up the battery. We're going to turn her a couple times and check our oil pressure and see what that ends up doing. The coil wire. Okay, here we go again. There, we got it that way. Now I can see it. Well, not showing any oil pressure, but that gauge might not be right. We haven't blown anything out, so what the hell? Let's Ooh, there we had some oil pressure. I saw that gauge fly. And we're pushing out of the filter. It will run. No doubt about it. It will run. But rev it up too much. Our battery's wearing down. Our starter's missing the flywheel. Yeah, this battery's getting weak. Let's try this battery out. Add some more gas to the carburetor then too, so hopefully we should be pretty good to go on that. Let's get our coil connected. Here we go. Woo! Starter doesn't want to go. That sounded pretty good. I think my starter might be hung up again. Yeah, this starter's getting pretty hot. This wire is very not too happy. Well, folks, I'm going to call it there. Will it run? Yes. Will it run well? No. Did I screw up by not cleaning out all the oil galleries? Absolutely. So, that's a lesson to you kids. You're doing this kind of backyard stuff, do it right. Don't be a hack like I was. But there again, I did get it running. That you saw what that engine looked like. It was rusted up, frozen. The heads I'm going to be definitely using. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with this engine because I really need to tear it apart again and clean out all the oil galleries. That was my own stupidity for doing that. But there's a lot of good usable parts. I do have a good bottom end 327 that has some 307 heads on it, so I may end up doing some swapping of parts on that. What am I going to do with it? I don't know. I have another project car that's going to need an engine, so I may end up using the other 327 that I have. On another note, I did see on Marketplace there is another 327 that is locked up for $100. I'm really thinking, yeah, maybe I should do that and do a video on getting that one running as well. But you let me know in the comments, should I do that? Do you want that? Because I really don't need another engine. I have 9 right now. I really don't need any more engines. And where do I put it? I don't know. But hey, this is just for fun. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned a few things from this as well. If you want to see more videos like this, like I say, drop a message in the comments. Let me know. And as always, thanks for watching.